Good evening on World News Tonight. Violent protests. Violent protesters are taking to the streets across the country as the government struggles. Diplomatic actions. Trump administration withdraws from dozens of international organizations. Strange technology. Lollipops have music playing as you eat. Technology hits a different stand. Good evening. Thank you for joining World News Tonight on Adidharan News Channel. I'm Sitmi Adhikari, and we start with thousands of anti-government protesters taking the streets across the country as the government struggles to contain the opposition and is said to be the largest show of force by opponents of the clerical establishment in years.
On the 12th day of defiance, protesters came in their thousands. An enormous march stretching from street to street in Tehran, the biggest turnout yet. Cars set alight, state-controlled media buildings up in flames as the sounds of gunshots rang out across the city, authorities fighting back, cutting off internet and phone services. But it didn't stop people mobilising, huge crowds turning out in dozens of cities across Iran. Exiled Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi calling for the uprising. His father, the last Shah of Iran, fled before the 1979 Islamic Revolution. Today, the former flag of Iran raised in a major square as protesters chant, "Long live the Shah." Iran's foreign minister made no comment in Lebanon, blaming the economic crisis firmly on US sanctions, saying we are fully prepared for any situation. We don't want war, but we are ready for war. President Donald Trump firing back.
They played rough, and I said, if they do that, we're going to hit them very hard. We're going to hit them hard. We're ready to do it. If they do that, we're going to hit them hard.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is reportedly preparing to flee the country to Russia as Iranians put up one of their strongest fights in decades to topple the regime.
India's Finance Ministry plans to scrap 5-year-old restrictions on Chinese firms bidding for government contracts as New Delhi seeks to receive commercial ties in an environment of eased diplomatic and border tensions.
India plans to end 5-year-old restrictions on Chinese firms bidding for government contracts. That's according to two sources. The curbs were imposed in 2020 after a deadly clash between the country's troops. The rules required Chinese bidders to register with an Indian government committee and obtain political and security clearances. The measures effectively banned Chinese firms from competing for Indian government contracts, estimated to be worth up to $750 billion. A source said the final decision to remove the restrictions will be made by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's office. New Delhi wants to revive commercial ties as diplomatic ties with Beijing have eased. Modi recently visited China for the first time in 7 years and agreed to build deeper commercial ties. The restrictions had a big impact after they came in. Research showed the value of new projects awarded to Chinese bidders fell more than a quarter from a year earlier. A source said the Ministry of Finance's plan to ease curbs followed requests from other government departments, mainly those facing shortages and project delays due to the restrictions. India's Finance Ministry and the Prime Minister's office didn't respond to requests for comment.
The Trump administration is pulling the United States out of dozens of international organizations, including key UN agencies and the treaty underpinning global climate talks, marking deepening retreat from multilateral cooperation and drawing sharp criticism from diplomats and climate experts.
The United States is cutting ties with international organisations yet again. On Wednesday, President Trump signed an executive order to withdraw US support from 66 global organisations and treaties, about half of which are connected to the United Nations. Secretary of State Marco Rubio released a statement justifying the administration's decision.
The Trump administration has found these institutions to be redundant in their scope, mismanaged, unnecessary, wasteful, poorly run, captured by the interests of actors advancing their own agendas contrary to our own, or a threat to our nation's sovereignty, freedoms, and general prosperity.
The list includes organisations related to international cooperation on law, gender equality, peace, clean energy and the environment. And notably, the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. The treaty, established in 1994, has a near universal membership of countries, runs the annual COP Climate Summit, and brokered the landmark Kyoto Protocol in 1997 and the Paris Agreement in 2015. The US withdrawal marks another blow for global action on climate change, but the EU Climate Commissioner has vowed to push on.
The decision by the world's largest economy and second largest emitter to retreat from it is regrettable and unfortunate. We'll unequivocally continue to support international climate research as the foundation of our understanding and work.
They are the latest in a growing number of UN organisations that Trump has pulled out of, including the World Health Organization, the UN Human Rights Council and UNESCO, as he continues to push his foreign policy agenda and signal to the world that it is his way or the highway.
A mountain of rubbish collapsed at a landfill in the central Philippines, killing a 22-year-old woman and leaving more than 30 people missing. Rescue operations are continuing at the Binalive landfill in Cebu City after a massive collapse buried workers under tons of waste and debris. At least 12 injured sanitation workers have been pulled from the site and rushed to hospital, while many others remain unaccounted for. Authorities believe most of the missing were working at the landfill when the collapse happened. Rescuers say the operation is extremely dangerous with the ground still unstable and the risk of further collapse is high. Excavating the debris is slow and delicate, as removing material from the top could cause the softer layers below to give way. Around 300 personnel from government agencies and civilian groups have been deployed to privately owned landfill. Excavators, ambulances and fire trucks remain on standby as search and retrieval efforts continue. Officials say the exact cause of the collapse is still under investigation, but initial assessments point to a long-term waste management failure. The landfill is believed to have been operating more like an open dump site, the soil being cut away and garbage piled repeatedly to form unstable layers of waste. Families of the missing have gathered near the site, anxiously waiting for news. Some survivors have been rescued, but relatives say others are still trapped beneath the debris. Hope remains as reports suggest that some of those buried may still be alive. The Binalive landfill covers around 15 hectares and serves Cebu City, a major commercial and transport hub in the central Philippines. As the search continues, questions are mounting over safety standards, oversight and accountability in landfill operations. Rescue teams say efforts will continue for as long as conditions allow, with saving lives remaining the top priority. The Saudi-led coalition in Yemen said that the United Arab Emirates had spirited a separatist leader out of the country by boat in a dramatic twist to a rift between the Gulf powers, as Saudi-backed forces advanced to the port of Aden after losing ground there.
Military forces were seen manning checkpoints in parts of Aden on Thursday, as the Saudi-led coalition in Yemen said the United Arab Emirates had spirited a separatist leader out of the country. It's a dramatic twist to a row between the two Gulf powers. The escape of Aderis al-Zubaydi, head of the UAE-backed Southern Transitional Council, could exacerbate tensions between Saudi Arabia and the UAE. The Saudi claim the UAE helped Zubaydi escape raises the stakes in an ongoing crisis since the separatists swept through southern Yemen, including Aden. Riyadh declared the move a threat to its national security, and witnesses said Saudi-backed forces had advanced to the port of Aden after losing ground there. Zubaydi had failed to show up to Riyadh for crisis talks over turmoil in southern Yemen on Wednesday. In a statement, the Saudi-led coalition said Zubaydi had left Yemen for Somaliland before boarding an aircraft to Mogadishu that was later tracked to a military airport in Abu Dhabi. The coalition did not say if Zubaydi was still aboard en route to the UAE capital, but any confirmation of his presence in Abu Dhabi could anger Saudi Arabia. Zubaydi's group said he was overseeing military and security operations in Aden to prevent a security vacuum there. The port city had been the main seat of power in Yemen outside Houthi-controlled areas since 2015. Leaders of the Saudi-backed government left the city for Saudi Arabia when the STC took control last month. Saudi Arabia and the UAE previously battled the Iran-backed Houthis together in Yemen's civil war, which caused one of the world's worst humanitarian crises.
Let's go in for a short commercial break. More world news coming right after this. Welcome back. Minneapolis continues to be on the edge a day after U.S. immigration agent fatally shot a 37-year-old mother of three in an incident that drew condemnation from local officials and sparked widespread protest in the state and beyond.
Protesters and immigration officers in Minneapolis broke out in scuffles on Thursday, a day after an ICE agent shot and killed a woman in her car. ICE out now! Video showed protesters dispersing after a tear gas-like chemical irritant was fired into the air. The killing of 37-year-old Renee Nicole Good by an unidentified officer has put the U.S. on edge, becoming another flashpoint in a polarized country.
This was an agent recklessly using power.
State and federal officials offered starkly different accounts of the shooting.
This is an experienced officer who followed his training.
Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the incident was an act of domestic terrorism. And on Thursday, along with Vice President J.D. Vance, said the agent acted in self-defense.
She tried to run somebody over with her car, and the guy defended himself when that happened.
Though videos don't appear to show contact, and the officer remained on his feet. President Donald Trump claimed on social media that the woman ran over the ICE officer.
I watched the video. You felt like your stomach was being punched.
Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer said there seemed to be no justification for the shooting and called for a full investigation at the federal level.
Although I have little faith in the FBI at doing a fair investigation or DHS.
Democratic Minnesota Governor Tim Walz echoed Schumer's doubts, saying that the Trump administration has already passed judgment.
It feels very, very difficult that we will get a fair outcome.
The Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension said on Thursday it had initially agreed to conduct a joint investigation with the FBI, but that the federal agency had reversed course and taken sole control. The agent who shot Good was among 2,000 federal officers that the Trump administration announced it was deploying to the Minneapolis area in what the Department of Homeland Security described as its largest operation ever. ICE out now! The incident drew protests across the country on Thursday, from Seattle to Orlando to New York, where demonstrators called for ICE to be abolished.
Russian drones attacked targets in Kyiv earlier today, killing 4 people, injuring at least 19, and inflicting considerable damage on the dwellings and infrastructure in Ukraine.
A new escalation in Ukrainian war has raised concern across Europe after a powerful missile strike near the country's western border. Late at night, multiple explosions were reported on the outskirts of Kyiv, a major Ukrainian city located around 60 kilometers from the Polish border. Videos circulating on social media showed repeated blasts suggesting the use of a high-impact weapon system. Ukrainian authorities later confirmed that a ballistic missile had struck infrastructure in the area. The weapon involved is believed to be an Oshnik missile, an intermediate-range hypersonic ballistic system capable of traveling up to 5,500 kilometers. Military analysts say the missile's warhead is designed to fragment during its final descent, releasing multiple inert projectiles. This results in several explosions occurring seconds apart, a pattern seen in the footage from Kyiv. A strike followed claims by Moscow of a Ukrainian drone attack on the Russian president's residence in late December. Kyiv has denied carrying out any such attack, and European officials have expressed serious doubts about whether the incident occurred at all. The location at the missile strike has intensified international concern, as it occurred close to the borders of the European Union and NATO territory. Ukrainian officials say the attack represents a serious risk to wider regional security. Air defense systems were activated during the incident, and emergency crews were deployed to assess damage and restore services. Authorities say investigations into the full impact of the strike are ongoing.
Israel barred several foreign medical and humanitarian staff from entering Gaza after their organizations were ordered to either cease operations or register employee details with Israeli authorities.
Israel said on Thursday it had barred entry to Gaza of foreign medical and humanitarian staff from organizations that had not registered their employees with Israeli authorities. Israel has ordered 37 international non-governmental organizations to halt work, despite the humanitarian needs of the war-shattered enclave. 3 of the aid groups said their foreign staff were told by Israeli authorities this week they could not enter Gaza. Israel's diaspora ministry, which manages the registration process, said the measures were meant to prevent diversions of aid by Palestinian armed groups and will not affect, quote, approximately 99% of overall humanitarian aid. 2 aid sources told some groups are weighing whether to submit staff names to Israeli authorities. But NGOs say sharing staff details poses a risk, pointing to the hundreds of aid workers who were killed or injured during the 2-year Gaza war. The diaspora ministry said that while the NGOs have been granted 60 days to conclude operations, quote, the entry of foreign personnel into Gaza is not approved. It said international staff with, quote, approved organizations, including the United Nations, could continue work as usual. Israel's government said some 23 aid groups had agreed to the new registration rules, meaning humanitarian goods will continue to get into Gaza. Israel accuses Hamas and other armed groups of stealing aid meant for Palestinians in Gaza. Israel has shared little evidence of aid being diverted in the Palestinian enclave. Foreign aid staff had generally been permitted to rotate in and out of Gaza since the start of the war. MSF bolsters 6 Gaza Health Ministry hospitals and runs 2 field hospitals. The Médicos del Mundo NGO screens Gaza residents for malnutrition and provides mental health services. The head of Gaza's Al-Shifa hospital told the banning of groups like MSF could affect hundreds of thousands of people. One of the groups facing a ban is Oxfam, on which thousands of desperate Gazans, including Samira Al-Ashkar, have come to depend.
احنا كنا معتمدين على المؤسسات كتير من ناحية الأكل والمشرب.
We were heavily reliant on the institutions in terms of food and drinks. We needed them for our children. Milk, diapers, sugar, cooking oil, flour. We needed them so much. Now, after the war, everything is missing, and things have become dire. We were very dependent on Oxfam. It helped us with so many things.
Time for a short break now. We'll be right back with more world news. Welcome back. Lollipop that plays music. What surprising technology to have something you eat play music on the side. So far it comes in 3 flavors with songs by different artists including Ice Spice and Akon.
It's a really fun novelty product.
Why is this lollipop being featured at the Consumer Electronics Show? Those willing to try it out got an unusual surprise.
It's strange. You just put it in your mouth and you hear music in your ears somehow. Very funny. A novelty, fun item.
It's called Lollipop Star, and so far it comes in 3 flavors with songs by 3 different artists, including Ice Spice and Akon. Considering there haven't been many technological advancements in the field of lollipops, this creation is certainly novel.
It uses bone conduction technology. So from the back of your mouth, you'll start to feel the different vibrations that go up into your ear.
It will be available for purchase on the company's website after CES for about $8.99 a pop.
From feeds to forums, flipping cakes are making waves online. Smash or flip? One way to find out, and clearly the internet is up for a challenge.
She's about to flip the cake into the air and catch it without smashing it. Prepping for the challenge, the kids give mom some encouragement.
Do it!
After a few false starts, here goes nothing. Nailed it! She's not the only one. It's called the Cake Flip Challenge, and it's sweeping social media. This woman's in the woods. Whoops! Almost got the dog. And check out this guy. He's doing the Cake Flip Challenge in the conference room. Nice catch. This dad thinks it's the perfect occasion to celebrate his daughter's first birthday.
Cake Flip Challenge!
No!
Catch it. Drop it.
And with that, we come to the end of today's edition of World News Tonight. With the hopes to see you again, I'm Sidmi Adhikari, and we leave you tonight with the visuals of various concepts that inspire sculptors at China's Snow Festival. Also, don't forget to send us your feedback through email at feedback.adncenglish@theran.lk or via WhatsApp at 076-805-7933. Thank you for watching World News Tonight on Adi News Channel. Have a good night.